How much further? 10 miles. 1,700 feet.
Choking for air, some passengers try to open the doors. At this speed, it's impossible.
No!
How much fuel have we used?
Flight engineer Gilles Jardinot keeps a vigilant eye on fuel consumption.
We've got 800 kilos.
Concorde burns through it at an astonishing rate. In the short taxi to the runway, the plane's 4 engines have already used as much fuel as the average car uses in 6 months. Booking a seat on the famed jet requires deep pockets. The return fare to New York costs more than $9,000.
It was not something unaffordable for those people we had on board. Some of them, I tell you, they didn't even know how much they were paying.
Air France 4590, runway 26 right, clear for takeoff.
4590, cleared for takeoff, 26 right.
The tower controller today is Gilles Longelin.
I was stationed in the southern control tower, which has a very good view over the 2 runways that we use. This day was the same as usual. I gave him the takeoff clearance.
The first officer tells the captain they've reached V1, or decision speed. They're now going too quickly to abort the takeoff.
You cannot stop anymore. You have to go on. You have to continue takeoff, whatever happens.
Watch out!
Suddenly, the plane begins veering left. The flight engineer urges the captain to abort the takeoff, but it's too late to stop. Captain Marty lifts the supersonic jet into the air. Gilles Longelin realizes he's now watching a disaster.
It was a very unexpected situation to see flames on an aircraft that is departing on the runway. You don't have time to lose, so immediately I've pushed the red button, which is a button for alert.
4590, you have flames behind you.
Roger!
The plane is engulfed in flames.
Failure, engine 2.
Engine fire procedure.
Captain Marty struggles for control as the engineer shuts down the burning engine and activates a fire extinguisher.
What's the airspeed?
The plane's airspeed is now dangerously low.
The airspeed.
Something is happening. Some things that is not covered by training. Something that in pilot career you don't want to face.
First Officer Marceau wants to head for a nearby airport.
Le Bourget!
But the crew can't outfly the fire that is rapidly consuming their plane. The supersonic marvel of modern aviation.
No!
Slams into an airport hotel.
Oh mon Dieu.
I could see kind of big, like a big mushroom of smoke. I think until the very last moments I was thinking that something will save the situation.
It's early morning on the Indonesian island of Java. A Boeing 737 flies high overhead. The crew of Garuda Flight 200 is getting ready to land. There are 133 passengers in the cabin. They're nearing the end of a short flight from the Indonesian capital of Jakarta, 265 miles southeast of the city of Yogyakarta. Kyle Quinlan is also headed to Yogyakarta. He's an Air Force security officer.
I was working for 34 VLP Squadron. They're the guys who look after the security for Prime Minister, the heads of government and stuff like that. We had to travel internally on civilian aircraft.
The plane is less than 15 miles from the airport.
Whoa, strong wind.
They hit some slight turbulence.
Garuda 200, you're clear to approach runway 09er. Let me know when you have the runway in sight.
Copy that.
The bumpy ride doesn't alarm the experienced captain.
Flaps 1.
He continues with a landing approach.
Flaps 1.
And calls for the flaps to be extended. Flaps increase the wing's surface area, adding the crucial extra lift needed at slower speeds. As the plane descends, Quinlan begins to feel uneasy. His Air Force training tells him something's not right.
When you travel on aircraft so frequent, you become aware of your surroundings, and for me it was when we were just standing and looking out the window and thinking, we're not supposed to be at this height for how fast we were going.
Something's off, man.
Clear to land, 2 miles out.
Quinlan can't shake the feeling the plane's dropping too fast.
What can you do? You're stuck here, you know, like there's nothing that you can do except for tighten up the seatbelt and just hang on and just ride this out, and hopefully we make it, you know.
Whoa, go around, Captain, go around.
We landed and we bounced.
It's chaos as the plane bounces a second time.
And I just remember thinking, just hang on, like, hang on.
Then a third impact, and the plane isn't stopping.
We're scraping on the belly. I can hear the wings, the engines, everything.
Many passengers are badly injured, and the fire is spreading fast. Kyle Quinlan realizes there's no time to wait for rescue.
Once we pulled up, I could still operate, and to see so many people who were busted up and couldn't do anything, I needed to do something and to help these people out.
UPS-6 has crashed into a military base 10 miles from Dubai International Airport. Neither pilot has survived. It's one of Dubai's worst ever aviation disasters. Beyond the outer edge of the wreckage field, investigators make an unexpected find.
We looked outside the burned area and saw this little shrub, maybe 3 feet high, just sitting out by itself in the dirt, burned, far away from the main area. Inside that bush was one small lithium battery that had burned, blown itself up, and shot out of the wreckage into the little bush.
The small piece of evidence suggests a terrifying new theory. The cargo manifest reveals UPS-6 had dozens of shipments of lithium batteries or consumer electronics that contain them.
81,000 batteries. That's a lot of hazardous cargo.
Once we'd got the cargo manifest and seen the total volume of these batteries that were on board, we were heading in the right direction.
Lithium batteries are extremely flammable. They can provide up to 10 times the energy of regular alkaline batteries, which is why they last longer in electronics. But their volatile chemical composition means they can burst into flames if they're damaged. Is that what happened in the cargo hold of UPS Flight 6? Joseph Panahiatou is a fire and explosive expert for the NTSB.
There's been instances where they're trying to load a pallet of cargo which contains a lot of batteries and it catches on fire at the airport before getting onto the airplane. So we're aware that that is a possibility. You can't automatically conclude that that's what it is, but it's one of the prime suspects.
Demand for lithium batteries has never been higher. Several billion are manufactured and shipped around the world every year.
Lithium batteries are on everything that we do. They're in our cars, they're in our homes, they're in every airplane we get on, they are everywhere.
At a testing facility in the United States, Straker runs lab tests to explore just how flammable lithium batteries can be. The results are astonishing. When they heat a single box containing 100 batteries, it quickly ignites, sending up flames that reach temperatures of 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit.
We were completely surprised at how a small AA-sized lithium battery would overheat and then vent and practically just explode into a problem which you couldn't contain.
Less than a mile from Miami International Airport is the scene of a terrifying airplane disaster. NTSB investigators start collecting eyewitness accounts.
A couple of the witnesses mentioned seeing flames coming from the number 4 engine on the right side.
The investigators wonder if the plane suffered a major engine failure, which prevented it from getting airborne. Bob Benson searches for a telltale clue that the engines were working. Turbine blades bent sideways suggest they were still spinning rapidly when the plane hit the ground.
We looked inside them, and it looked like they were all operating at high power settings, just from visual examination.
They were definitely spinning.
The investigators rule out engine failure, but quickly get new information from the plane's air traffic controller.
Just after takeoff, he went steeply nose up. I could see the tops of the wings.
The discovery explains the flames witnesses saw. If a plane is pitched too steeply, airflow to the engine is interrupted, causing too much fuel to flow through the engines.
It's simply an airflow issue. There wasn't enough air getting into the engines, and you get a lot of extra fuel that's on fire, and it's going out the back of the engine.
NTSB investigator Evan Byrne now wonders why the plane's nose rose up so suddenly.
What this told us early in the investigation was that we either had a problem with the airplane, something that the pilots did during the takeoff, or there may have been something wrong with the load.
28, you are clear for takeoff.
Stop! 137 people are on board this British Airtours flight.
I could see orange flames inside the back of the engine.
Within minutes, nearly half of them will be dead. The fire in the cabin had been severe, but should not have been catastrophic. This leaves investigators with two questions. Why did so many people die? And what caused the fire? During a routine inspection a year and a half earlier, mechanics had found small cracks in some of the combustor cans. Since the repair, there were 11 reports of slow acceleration from the engine that exploded in Manchester. A damaged combustor can could have been a reason for the problem, but the log entry led Captain Terrington to believe that the problem had been fixed. Investigators still don't understand how a fire outside the plane spread into the cabin as quickly as it did. Believing he had a blown tire, Captain Terrington made a fateful decision.
Stop it. 28 Mike, we are abandoning takeoff.
Captain Terrington turned his plane to the right and brought it to a stop. He couldn't have realized that doing so would make the problem far worse.
There was a crosswind, a slight crosswind, from the left side of the aircraft that was carrying the fire that was burning from the fuel that was pooled underneath the left wing. It carried that fire aft, rearwards, and to over and under the rear fuselage, in between the wing and the tailplane.
The wind wrapped the fire around the back of the plane and into the cabin. Investigators have discovered how the fire started and the conditions that caused it to penetrate the cabin. Now, investigator Ed Trimble must solve the biggest mystery surrounding the Manchester accident to figure out why so many died. Investigators learn that most of the dead were not found in the worst burned parts of the plane. Autopsies will point to the real killer on Flight 28. China Airlines Flight 120 is on final approach for landing. They're now less than a minute from the runway.
T20, 10.
It's a textbook landing. All that's left for the China Airlines pilots is to park the plane.
Engine start levers. Engine start levers cut off.
With the engines off, they can finally relax.
Hey, what is this? What's happening?
Just when they thought they were safely parked,
Cockpit, ground. Number 2 engine fire.
a radio call alerts them to an urgent danger. Their plane is on fire.
Attention crew on station. Attention crew on station.
Dynasty 120, we are calling a fire truck. Remain standby.
We have wheel fire, please. Slap lever.
The pilots know they need to get their passengers off the plane before flames reach the fuel tanks. But they can't open the cabin doors yet.
Engine fire warning switches. Override.
They must follow an evacuation checklist. Finally, the pilots are ready to open the doors.
Evacuation required now. Required.
No pushing, no pushing. Please keep moving forward.
But it will take time for all 157 passengers to make it to the exit. George Ishizaki is watching the unfolding disaster from inside the airport terminal.
I just happened to have my camcorder with me. I thought, oh my God, what is happening?
The plane has been burning for close to 3 minutes. It could explode at any moment.
Captain, all passengers are evacuated. You're the last one.
Typically, the captain will stay until everybody's off, and he will verify that the airplane is empty.
The pilots have put their passengers' safety first. But now, it may be too late for them.
You're gonna have to climb up through the window. You first. Sir.
All 737 cockpits are equipped with an emergency escape rope. It's designed to help pilots exit through the side window. But it's no easy maneuver. Then, fire on an airplane can quickly become lethal. Incredibly, on Flight 120, all 165 people on board have escaped unharmed.
I've never heard of any evacuation where somebody wasn't hurt. To get this many people off in such a dire circumstance in a very short period of time with no injuries is miraculous.
Amid growing confusion in the cockpit, the pilots of Flight 2120 still don't know that there's smoke in the cabin.
All they're dealing with is just all the alarm bells going off to indicate that equipment is failing left, right, and center.
But mechanic Jean-Paul Philippe realizes they're in serious trouble. An onboard fire has the potential to consume the entire aircraft in seconds.
So things are rapidly spinning out of control.
Okay, let's get squared away and see what we've got here, please.
In the cabin, it's becoming almost impossible to breathe. And Jeddah is still 11 miles away.
You've lost all hydraulics.
The odds on making it back to the airport are getting slimmer.
Damn it! I've got no ailerons!
Davidge can't steer the plane with no hydraulics.
Okay, hang on, I've got it.
Captain Allen struggles with his control column, but it too could fail at any moment.
Let's get lined up before things get any worse. Okay, so we're at 2,000 feet now, declaring an emergency. We are having flight control problems.
Roger, I thought you were Southeast 738.
Only now does the controller realize that the troubled aircraft is the Nation Air flight.
Turn left right now, heading
080, expect runway 34 left.
By this time, it's pandemonium inside the cabin. Passengers are being engulfed by flames, and bodies are starting to fall from the aircraft fuselage.
The plane is right over Jeddah, a city of 2 million people.
Bodies were falling out of the aircraft 11 miles from the airport.
Okay, sir, we're having trouble turning. We are having flight control problems. We will try to turn left. We are having flight control problems.
In the situation, it would have made certainly controlling the aircraft for an approach and landing very, very difficult.
How much further? 10 miles. 1,700 feet.
Choking for air, some passengers try to open the doors. At this speed, it's impossible.
No! Jeddah 2120, clear to land runway
34 left.
Okay, we're coming straight in. We'll land on the left. Require emergency vehicles immediately. We have a fire. We will be ground evacuating.
Jeddah 2120, clear to land any runway, clear to land.
There it is, it's 2 miles out. All right, let's get on the ground. I've lost elevators. Christ, I have no control. Landing gear down.
The fiery explosion and sudden impact with the ground has all but obliterated Flight 2120. "247 passengers and 14 crew members are dead. This is the worst accident ever for a Canadian airline, and the deadliest crash of a DC-8 in history.